So this is going to be our project. I've got to attach that length and that length to... Okay, we've got to attach this yellow one and this yellow one to this green one. And then I'm going to be taking that yellow... I want to reuse it. That was originally a gravity feed line that I was using for another experiment. But I have to I'm going to just reuse it. So you can see all these little black... Let me get a little closer, actually. You can see these black spaghetti lines. We're going to try to reuse those. I don't like how the hose is right now because it's basically held on with twisties, and there's all these droops, these saggings, and it's not really that big of an issue for, say, the pressure system, but it bothers me, and so I'm going to try to fix it. We're going to try to weave it in and out of the fence. And then I want to use those black... I'm going to try to reuse those spaghetti lines. We're going to clip them shorter, and I'm going to need them at the top, so somehow I have to figure out how to keep them at the top. And then we're going to put in a bed underneath it. Well, that's a different topic for a different show, but for the watering, we're going to basically do something like this. It's just a really short bit of hose with a spray head on it, but we need quite a few of them. So, well, I guess I'll get this cleared out and get it all taken down and we can get started. Here's a quick aside. I just wanted you guys to see how well all of these fungi were doing. If anybody knows what they are, I'd appreciate it if you tell me. I have no idea. Well, that one's kind of dried up now, but here's one that's made a perfect little bowl. And then it's spread quite a bit over here. Don't know what it is, but they're interesting. Okay, so we got everything cleaned up and all of the hoses down. We got everything trimmed. So now we can start stringing our hoses, and then we'll just tee them together. This cheap stuff, this black, it's just black plastic hose. We used to use that all the time, but I don't recommend using it, because if you're in any kind of a hot environment, the emitters blow out. Even just any exposed hose to the sunlight will start heating the water inside, and then it builds up the pressure and just blows the emitters straight out. And that's even on low pressure. So we use just regular garden hose. The cheapest garden hose we can get is what we use. And like this one, it's 1/2 inch pipe with, I think, 5/8 inch fittings, or, well, standard hose fittings. And it makes it a lot easier in a lot of ways, because we can use standard couplers, standard fittings. Everything's a lot cheaper when you get into standard. The mini emitters and stuff, they get expensive. With $1 a piece, they add up. And then there's a lot of fussy little bits that you need, like the splices and stuff. And then the 1/4 inch line actually reduces the pressure, and you wind up not being able to do as much as you would like to do. The 1/2 inch line, using that for a 1/2 inch line, it works really well. We've converted almost everything to that. So okay, so what we're going to do, you can, mounting this on a fence like this is actually pretty standard because it gives you some place to actually mount it. You can get these funny clips to help clip it to your fence, but they're a waste of time and money, and at $1 or so a piece, I just don't think it's worth it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go in and out of the fence like this. You're going to have to conscript some help to do this unless you can reach over, because unless you're going to walk around, unless you're going to stick it through, walk around the fence, stick it back through, walk around the fence, yeah, you're going to want some help. So I'm going to, let's see, this one I can actually, when you're placing your pipe, your hose pipe, make sure that it's high enough that when the plants that you're planting, make sure it's high enough that the plants that they're watering don't obscure them, because otherwise you'll have to either increase the length of your noodle or get a better emitter or something. Also, if something like that happens on your emitter line while I'm showing, if it gets in the dirt like that, you're going to want to blow it out before you put an emitter on there. So make sure that you have a valve. Where's my valve? Just an inline valve between your sections somewhere, so that you can turn that section on and off, because most of the time you're going to want your system to be fully pressured all the time, or it'll be on a timer that will just pressurize it when it needs it, but you still don't want that dirt driven into your emitter head, because then you'll have to change the head, and that's $1 down the toilet. So I'll talk more about emitters later, but make sure that you plan a valve in there somewhere so that it's in sections. Okay, I'm gonna get my conscript and get these strung and get this teed. You gotta get those three together, and I'm gonna use a T for that, and I'll show that. But this is gonna take a while to get these strung back and forth and back and forth. So I'm gonna get to it. Okay, so we've gotten everything initially strung up. Sorry, forgot to not move so fast. Okay, so we've got 3 ends here. What we're going to do is we're going to tee them together with this. These are 1/2-inch lines, so we'll be able to pressure fit these. If you have slightly off sizes, then you're going to have to take some clamps. Some regular pipe clamps will probably work just fine, and clamp the just clamp them together, just like we did with the mender show when we mended. I think that's episode 4. It's just the same way if you have to use clamps. Otherwise, just pressure fit this, just cram it into the pipe. It's going to be hard, but that's a good thing, because if it's too loose, it'll just blow out once you turn the water on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I got that T in, which was a real pain, and we re-tightened all of our hoses afterwards so we could take up some of the slack. Since this is a recycled hose that had already spaghetti line and stuff, there's a couple that are in the wrong places, but that's okay. I'll just put if you find something like this, don't put a goof plug. Don't put a goof plug in, because those things are a pain in the butt. Just take an old head, one that you've had to take out from getting clogged or whatever. Since it's basically a valve, just use the old head and just clog it up. If it leaks down here, it's going to leak irregardless. Don't worry about it, it's just a drip. So we have all of these emitter lines where I cut them off, and we just twisted the hose till they were about 45 degrees to the ground, so that when we put our new heads in, there'll already be some of them will already be in place, and we won't have to put so many in. Something I forgot before, on the ends of the hose, you're going to want to cap them. That's where these come in. This is an inline valve. Works excellent for a flushing valve because, see, a lot of times when you recycle the hose, you're going to wind up with a male and a female, right? These don't care which direction they go. So, well, I guess you can't look at that because that's a brand. Alright, so, just make sure it's closed and put it on. And that way you can just get a bunch of inline valves and you won't have to worry about which end it's going on, and it'll work for a flush valve because sediment builds up inside those and you need some way to flush them. So just, that way you can just go like that and be done with it. I've mentioned on other times, like on, I think, episode 4, about Chinese stuff being a false economy and how companies just won't listen and they think that they're saving money by having stuff made in China. The company that made these valves, and if you are a CEO or if you know a CEO or whatever, perhaps you should actually tell them this. I don't buy Chinese crap unless I absolutely have to. And I think a lot of other people are too, because it's a false economy. It takes 5 of these made in China to last as long as 1 of these made in the US. This company didn't listen. They thought that they were making money by having their stuff made in China. I used to spend hundreds of dollars a month, a year, whatever, with this company because they were a good brand, they had good solid parts, and quite honestly, I still can't afford to spend hundreds of dollars replacing pieces. And, well, they went and started having their stuff made in China, and they lost me as a customer. So they're actually losing money by going to China, not making money. So if you know a CEO, or if you're an owner of a company, you might want to take that into consideration. Is the loss of a customer worth saving 15 cents on a unit? Or a piece, I guess, technically, because a unit's a lot more than a piece. But, they lost 50 cents a piece because they went and tried to save 15 cents a piece. Because now they're not selling those pieces. Because I won't buy them. And I'm not the only one either. So keep that in mind if you're a manufacturer. Let's see. I need to talk to you about emitters as well. Now, like I said, the only 2 ways that I found that actually work for watering are emitters and the flood tables. See, I actually do own a sprinkler. This thing is impractical and it doesn't water a garden worth crap. And this is what most people are going to have something similar to this. It's fine for grass, but not a garden, so don't use them. Alright, so, and then we've got quite a few different emitter choices. We've got just a standard 30 gallon per hour, or 3, is it 3? 10, 1. It's hard to read. It's 1 gallon per hour. But that's only if you have the proper pressure and pure water, because there's a cotton thing inside there that when it gets clogged up, it doesn't drip anymore. And I had a bunch of these in, and 3 of them worked for about a week. So then I had to go through all of the time and effort of replacing them to this type. I don't know if you can see that. I'm not sure who even makes these. Doesn't matter anyway. A lot of companies make this. This is an inline bubbler type. They're they emit water, but they're just as bad as this, because it's still throwing down a lot of water in a tiny space, and they're totally impossible to adjust. And once your fingers are wet, if you have any clay in your soil whatsoever, you have to use pliers to adjust them, and those are a pain in the butt, so I don't recommend them. Then we've got these, which work a lot better for large areas. This one's a 360. No, this one's a 180. You can tell how the coverage because of the pattern of the hole. I don't remember. The 180, yeah, the 180 had, no, the 360 had little grooves in. I think they're red on this brand's. The blue ones are 180s, and they make a 90, but I can't find. I know I have some, but I don't know where they're at. I think they're black. But there's two kinds that I found that look like this, and one of them works well and one of them doesn't, and I can't tell you the brand, so I'm not sure how to tell you which ones they are. But this kind works really well if you need to plug a goof or a spaghetti line that's been cut off, like I was demonstrating earlier. But you know, these last, you can get a couple seasons out of these, and if you need to use them as a goof plug, just, you know, turn them off. And so just save them if they wear out, just save them and put them in as goofs. This is the one that I prefer. It's a micro mister, and it makes raindrop sized rain droplets, water droplets, and you can put them into a lot of different configurations. I'm converting everything to these, and for $1 a piece. You know, all of these things, they all cost about $1 a piece. And these, unfortunately, the yellow ones, these misters, they only last one season, unfortunately. I have very few that survived last year. If you need to replace them, you know, you can just use them as goof plugs. But just be prepared to replace them often, I suppose. Anyway, that's the one I prefer. So now I need to go around. The nice thing about both of these is that you just, you screw them in, or you screw them in and then push them to where the barb catches, like on this blue one, this 180. Crud, I don't have any way to blast the system out at the moment. Well, this one doesn't matter because it's gonna be goofed anyway. So let me just readjust you for a minute. Alright, where are you? There you are. Okay, so that one's got dirt in it, but we're not going to worry about it because it's going to be goofed off anyway. So when you're adjusting the on-off, the crust is off and inline is on. Anyway, you just twist it on like that, on this one anyway. That's one of the things that makes these nicer than goof plugs. Goof plugs are just stupid. Alright, so that one's not going to be used. So that one can be turned off. And then when we get this one here on, it's clean. Oops. And same thing, we just screw it in. But you see that it's got a little barb here. I don't know if you can see that. Well, anyway, sometimes if you've got the right kind of spaghetti line, you can just keep on turning and it'll just recess itself so that it'll go up above the barb. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like this one is one of them, so you got to really push hard as you turn, and that will take care of that. Just go all the way to the hose, and when you adjust these for the first time, I take them off or put them about halfway and then readjust when the water comes on. But you want them about like 45 to the ground, and that'll give you a good arc when the water comes on. Okay, so we've gone over the emitters and we got the hose in, and it looks much nicer. The water will arc over the plants. I think that's pretty much it. Boy, this is going to be a long one. So I think I'm going to sign off on this one. Maybe I'll give a parting shot of it working later. Maybe not. Well, you'll see it working at some point. So anyway, till next time.